Since we last talked, the American military has left Afghanistan. You're a military historian. I wonder, what do you think happened there? What do you see now, kind of looking back on our efforts in Afghanistan?
In the historical sense,
Yeah.
or what?
And whatever stands out to you.
Well, one of the books that I wrote was called The Afghan Campaign, and it was about Alexander the Great's campaign in Afghanistan in 330 BC. And what struck me researching that was how similar the Russian intervention in Afghanistan and the British before them, and then us. That country has not changed in 5,000 years. And the Taliban may have, Kalashnikovs now, and they might have had slings and spears in the old days, but that hasn't changed at all. And no Western force has ever been able to make a dent in that, ultra hardcore old time place. And if you want, what is it called? The graveyard of empires, Afghanistan. So in a way, maybe there were other ways we could have gotten into it rather than the way we did, which is the same way we did in Vietnam, build giant bases based on air power, based on billions of dollars, based on conventional operations in the field, which were never gonna work in a place like that. Maybe there was some other way, but I doubt it. That place is not gonna change and forever.
Forever.
There's a famous story of when Alexander the Great, actually even before Alexander the Great, Cyrus the Great, who was probably, an equal, he was killed over there in Afghanistan. But when Alexander first came out there, he had already conquered the Persian Empire. He was the greatest, fighting commander in history up to that time, with the equivalent of an absolutely modern army. And when he first arrived there, some of the tribal leaders in the Badlands to the north of Afghanistan invited him to a shura, and they begged him for his own sake not to invade. And they said, "You may defeat us, but you will never defeat our poverty."
Huh.
And what they meant by that was that they lived so close to the line of starvation and that they could endure hardship on a level that his army could not even begin to do it. If they were reduced to being a band of 3 guys out in the boonies with sheep, they can do that. They could live on that. If they had to eat rocks, they could eat rocks, and their women too. Whereas Alexander depended upon supply. They depended on whiskey, or not whiskey, but alcohol of some kind, and all that sort of stuff that a modern army depends upon. And so Alexander, of course, said, "You guys are crazy. I'm going to kick your ass. You have nothing to stand up to me." And he had to retreat himself, or he had to have a phony marriage to a Princess Roxanne, and then he just kind of moved on to India after that. But he was defeated too. So it was a losing battle from the start.
Yeah. What do you think we can learn from that then? It seems hard to digest this losing battle.
I mean, look at the Russians in Ukraine now. There are certain wars that you can't win, because the people that are defending their homeland are going to defend it to the death. The last baby is going to be still fighting you, and that's what the Russians are learning. They learned it in Afghanistan, and they're learning it now in Ukraine. I mean, Alexander the Great, part of his, I don't know if I'm getting into the weeds here too much here, but part of his arsenal of tactics was the massacre and the depopulation. In other words, he pulled out all the stops in Afghanistan. He would depopulate entire regions. If you're like a thing the size of Kansas, he would kill everybody that's in there, and the ones that he didn't kill, he would move someplace else. And he still couldn't conquer that country because the people would come in from other places, And so there are some wars you just can't win.
Wow. Thanks for watching that video. To see the full episode, check out the box over here or the link in the description.